We are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast, to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
Now, before we get into today's episode number 16, I want to talk to you, the people, about a few quick things. First off, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. If you like today's episode, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to be the first to know when Revved Up 906 is posting, make sure to hit that bell button on our YouTube profile. One more thing, if you aren't so much into long form content like our episodes will be on YouTube, you can still subscribe and follow us on Instagram, because almost each and every day we are posting clips around 30 seconds, mainly the highlights of each episode. So make sure to still subscribe, because you can watch our YouTube reels and then follow us on Instagram, Revved.Up 906, to watch all of our clips that we are uploading. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode number 16 of season 2. Today, we are going to be talking about, this is a huge topic, and it's going to be pretty entertaining, I hope. We are going to be talking about our thoughts on Isaiah Stewart's altercation against the Drew Eubanks of the Phoenix Suns. Okay, first off, Ryan, let me read these articles so everybody can kind of get an understanding of everything that went down if you aren't informed. Quote, Isaiah Stewart, Drew Eubanks were in the back hallways pregame, exchanged some words, and it really stemmed from their last game against each other. They were chest to chest. Isaiah Stewart dropped his bags and punched Drew Eubanks in the face amid their exchanging of words. I'm told Drew Eubanks was punched in the mouth, and from what I'm told, Drew Eubanks barely flinched. Well, I think that is a lie. I know I would be flinching if Stewart had a knuckle sandwich heading towards me. The Phoenix Suns came out and said the attack on Drew Eubanks was unprovoked, and the acts of violence such as this are unacceptable. The Suns said, we are unequivocally support Drew and will continue to work with local law enforcement and the NBA. The Pistons said that they were aware of the incident. We are in the process of gathering information about what happened and what provoked it, and responding to the NBA and local authorities, the Pistons said. Pistons coach Monty Williams was fired by Phoenix after last season, and he said that he thought the Suns should not have weighed in with their statement because there's just so little of information out right now. Well, Ryan, what are some of your first thoughts when talking about this altercation, Isaiah and Drew? Because my first thoughts are Isaiah Stewart doesn't usually act unless he's provoked. Your first thoughts?
Yeah, this is not normal for him. He's not sitting there having a hit list of every single player he's going to attack. I mean, I don't think he does. Personally, it'd be interesting if he did. I don't think he does. That's not here nor there. I'm just saying it'd kind of be cool, but that's not the point. The point is, this is not Isaiah Stewart. This is not his norm. This is not who he is. Everybody is going to recall him in the situation with LeBron James because it's LeBron James. It's not like some scrub off the bench like Drew Eubanks. No offense, but you are. It's LeBron James. In that situation, of course, Isaiah Stewart is going to look like he's a madman who needs the mental health facility and the mental ward, whatnot. Of course, Stu is going to look like that in that situation when you're going up against LeBron James, who is considered one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. That's up for debate, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there once again. The point is, Isaiah Stewart, if you actually watch Pistons basketball, which a lot of you outside of the Pistons community do not, you are very casual in terms of fandom in the NBA, but I'm not going to weigh in on that much more. Isaiah Stewart, this is not normal for him. So the fact that he's out here potentially, I'm not saying he didn't throw a punch. That's not what I'm saying. But we still don't have all the information. So what the Phoenix Suns have said can be way out of the loom there and just inaccurate in some cases, because of them actually sending out a statement right away on the whole situation without having all the information and just immediately taking Eubanks' side, that's kind of like, okay, what the heck? Because in most of these situations, you're gathering all the information you can before making a statement so you don't look like an idiot in the process. But the Suns, apparently they want to look and sound stupid.
Well, and for me, when you look back at the history of Isaiah Stewart's altercations with fellow NBA players, we saw earlier this season Brandon Miller. Well, Brandon Miller dunked on Stewart and yelled in his face, and that's what led to them kind of getting in an argument later on that game. Draymond Green has had a couple run-ins, Blake Griffin, a couple other, LeBron, like you made mention. They were all altercations that Isaiah Stewart didn't provoke. He was provoked. Now, is he responsible for how he reacts to certain people's, comments or physical things? Yes. But I mean, the Isaiah Stewart is a guy that will not back down. He has shown that time and time again. And so for me, it's what did Eubanks do to kind of fire up Isaiah Stewart? Because we know they got physical the last time the Pistons and Suns played. But Eubanks had to have said something because Isaiah Stewart isn't like an outgoing guy where he's just going to go and talk to everyone. He's not really like that. So I feel like Eubanks had to have kind of made a little subtle comment or yelled something across, when they're walking through the tunnel. But also, where's security at? Where's the staff at? They have to separate these kinds of things. I know these are two huge, big guys, but in the end, like, they have to keep them separated. People know that competition is a real thing that can get physical time and time again. Where's the staff, Ryan? Where are they?
So apparently, to a couple reports, there were people around. They weren't security though. Security had gotten called in around 4:45 p.m. and that was pretty early compared to where the game time start was.
Oh yeah.
But there were people around. Apparently, they were watching the whole thing transpire, and then they finally called in security once I believe the punch was flown. And so it's like, if you're in the tunnel for one, and you have all those people there, and they're watching, I know you're not security, but you can at least break up a fight. Granted, it is hard at times to do. I'm not saying it isn't, and who knows? It could have been some just some staff member just walking through, and then all of a sudden that transpires, and they're like, I don't really want to break that up because I'm on the smaller side of things. I'm not like I'm looking up to them. I'm not very big compared to them, so I can't really break them up. But honestly, just force yourself in there because Stu is not going to try and hurt anyone. Maybe in that situation he did, but Eubanks probably deserved it. Eubanks is not going to try and hurt anyone, apparently, because the report said Eubanks did not throw any punches, didn't flinch. But like, if you're seeing something like that, try and break that up as soon as possible. Granted, we don't have the tape still because it hasn't been sent out. The only people that have the tape are local authorities and the NBA on what transpired. But until we have that information, we can't really say what happened, what didn't happen, but all we can give you is the facts. And with that being said, like, if you're seeing something like that happen, just jump in there and try and break it up. But I will say I'm siding with Stu on this one. Granted, I'm biased, but Eubanks would have had to have said something because Stu doesn't go out of his way. He's not an extrovert. He's an introvert. He's not going to go out of his way to go up there and chirp at you without you saying anything.
No, unless you're Patrick Beverly. We did see in the altercation that he had with Pat, he did walk up to Pat, but I don't see that being a common theme with Isaiah at all. So that's the only time we've seen Isaiah kind of, well, I mean, and Isaiah didn't really make it physical. He just was trying to talk to him, and hear him out. So we know that the Pistons would go on to, after this altercation, to lose to the Phoenix Suns 116-100. And the thing that kind of bothers me with this, as far as like game time affected, like how it affected game time, was Isaiah Stewart wasn't even going to be playing in this game. So that's the only thing where it's like Isaiah, like that's the one thing where you can kind of be like, Isaiah, what are you doing, man? Like you're like, because he's not even playing in the game. Like just go out, do your stretches, get your ankle right, get your shots up, do your thing, and just kind of be in the back behind the scenes style, because it's like it's not even like he was trying to fire up Eubanks for their matchup that was about to happen in 2.5 hours. He was going to sit on the bench. It's like, it's kind of like Isaiah Stewart was a little bored and was like, all right, I'm ready for this today. Let's get after it. I've been sitting the bench. I've been kind of just, stewing. Beef Stew's been stewing the last couple of weeks, and he's all about it. But that's the kind of thing that, upsets me a little bit, is that you weren't even going to play Stewart. Just leave it alone. When you play the Phoenix Suns later this season or early next season, maybe bring back old history and be petty. But I don't know. It's kind of hard because you can't back it up on the court anyway. That night.
Yeah, it's the time and place. You got to always remember that it was not the time and place. It was the wrong time and place in that situation. A game you're not playing in, and you're recovering from an injury to get back out there, be healthy. Eubanks, honestly, Stu, you could take him any day of the week. And that's not me being mean here, but you could. He could take me any day of the week. He could take any of us any day of the week. And I'd be running for my life. Just because, not because he's a bad person, but because, like, if you actually throw him in the boxing ring, he would absolutely kill you because he's that big and that strong. But that's not the point. Once again, the point is, like, you're not going to be playing in that game to begin with. You haven't been playing in a week or so. Just go out there and do your thing. Like you said, be behind the scenes, take that backstage pass, just sit back and relax, right? Recover. Don't go out there and try to brawl with Eubanks, who probably did deserve it once again, but it's neither here nor there. And then two, as much as I want to take Stu's side in this situation, it is still assault, right? He's still, it's still a crime. You still got arrested and everything, whole 9 yards. It's not right. That's not the right thing to do. You should never wind up and trying to punch someone. Only time to do that is self-defense. Really, that's the only time. But the point is, that was not the time and place to be doing something that costly to you, because you got arrested. And then two, like, imagine what the team is thinking, right? All of a sudden they're hearing, like, hey, there was a fight in the tunnel, and they're going like, who was it? Who was in it? What's going on? Is that going to affect us? And then you see that Stu gets arrested, and then the whole mindset around the guys is like, holy crap, Stu just got arrested. And that's all they can focus on. They can't even focus on the game plan or what's going out there on that night to try and defend Kevin Durant, to try and defend a couple of their other guys. Bradley Beal was out. Devin Booker got ejected within the first couple minutes of the game. So it was really just a Kevin Durant Suns team. But going into that game, you didn't know that Booker was going to get ejected. So you had to go up against Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Yusuf Nurkic, and the whole gang. And all they could probably think about was, oh my goodness, Stu just got arrested for assault. What just happened? Like, what do we need to put a body on Eubanks? Like, I just, it's not the time and place to be doing something like that.
Agree. And that's where the professional, because we even saw that with his altercation with LeBron James. Leave it on the court, Stu. But yet he brings it to the back tunnels of Little Caesars Arena. There's those little things where it's like, can find the blame on him at times, because it's like this Pistons team too is in a situation where they were at the moment, they were at a 2-game losing streak. They were having some momentum. They're starting to play well. We have some new additions. Don't leave a bad taste in the mouth of these new Pistons players. And then also the distraction. They're like, well, is Stu okay? How long is he going to be arrested? Is he going to be able to travel back with us? Like, what? Like, there's so many of these questions, and we know that Cade, Jaden, Duran, Asar are all close with Stewart, so they have to have this on the back of their mind, worrying about their best friend, their guy, Isaiah Stewart. And so that it leads to a lot of distractions. I understand beef. I can be petty at times with things. I know Stewart kind of has that mindset at times. He's 24. He's a physical beast, like, so he's going to, as soon as someone tests him, he's going to be all about it because he knows he can protect himself. So it's a tough situation because this Pistons team already has a new coach, one of the youngest teams in the league, just had like 5 to 6 trades at the deadline. There's enough stuff going on. There's so much going on. Leave it alone, Stu. Leave it alone. Let it just be cool, but I understand where he's coming from. Now, a couple months ago, we were talking about, Isaiah Stewart possibly getting traded away. I remember when he sat out about a month ago against the Boston Celtics, and he was healthy. He was a healthy scratch, but we thought maybe he was going to get traded to the Boston Celtics. And when an incident like this happens, Ryan, do we wish that we moved on from Stewart because he adds some drama here and there? And his play right now isn't really making up for it. Like, when stuff like this happens, is there a part of you that's like, maybe we should have traded it? What are your thoughts?
See, a part of me is like, the value we could have gotten out of him is high. It's not, it's going to be definitely more than what we got for Bojan and Alec Burks. Even Monte Morris, obviously. Don't forget Kevin Knox. But
Right.
I wouldn't have traded him. There's not one part of me where I'm going like, man, I wish we would have traded Stu. Just because he gives off the type of mentality that one has on the court that references like the Bad Boys or the Go and Work Pistons or just the community in general of Detroit. He gives off, hey, I'm a blue collar guy. I'm going to work my tail off. I'm going to give it my all. And that's why I think he's crucial to this team in creating our identity. And that, like, a player that my dad made note of recently that they're pretty similar is Draymond Green. Draymond Green, with all the incidents he's had, which is significantly, I'd say, worse and a lot more of than Stu so far, by far. It's not even close. But with all the things that Draymond Green has done, the Golden State Warriors have stood by his side the entire step of the way. They haven't given up on him. They know what he can bring to their team. Even though there may be some bad things at times, there's a lot of positive versus negative. And that's what Stu does for us. Draymond Green helped create the culture in Dub Nation with the Golden State Warriors, alongside, obviously, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. But that's something that Stu is doing right now for us. Granted, it's not great when the limelight on the Pistons right now is Isaiah Stewart punches Drew Eubanks in the face and gets arrested for assault. That's not what we want. But a lot of us in the community are going like, that's like bad boy DNA right there, written all over it. And so the fact is, the point that I'm trying to make rather is, as much as it would be great to see Stu move on, just because if stuff like this is going to keep happening and happens in the future, it could hurt us down the road. And then it's going to be a what if, like, holy crap, what if we could have moved Isaiah Stewart for like 5 first-round picks? I'm not saying it's going to be 5 first-round picks, but you never know. I'm just saying, like, what if we could have landed that player and that, oh my goodness, it would have been a whole thing. And to see potentially in the future where Stu keeps going on to the path of a Draymond Green. And then it's like, ooh, we really should have moved on from him at that point in time. But in my mind, I don't think there is that situation. I think he helps create the culture that we're wanting to create. And we don't have an identity right now. So that's why I think it's so important that we protect him and we hold on to him and we guide him. Because one of the few guys, granted, this is not assault. He got a DUI, but that was KCP. We gave up on him immediately. He got the DUI, we cut him immediately, and then here he is with the Denver Nuggets, and then even with the Lakers, winning multiple championships. He's been one of those key guys on all those championship wins. So the point is, like, let's not give up on Isaiah Stewart. Is he in the wrong right now in this situation? Yes, he is. He got arrested for assault. There's a reason why he was arrested. But I wouldn't have moved on from him right now, or even I wish we would have moved on from him because I think he is crucial in restoring our identity as the Pistons.
Yeah, I would totally agree. A part of me just knows, and from reading comments, that this is kind of something people are mulling around. Like, oh, what if we traded him to the Celtics or the Clippers, and then this wouldn't be happening, and we would just have some quality first round picks coming next season. But a part of me agrees with you. I think that Cade and Asar and Jaden need help with this, not bad boy mentality necessarily, but this like rugged play style. You know, Cade's not known for having that type of mentality, but I think Isaiah Stewart rather sets that tone in the locker room as far as trying to be a tough nosed team. And Isaiah Stewart's going to lead that mentality. And I think that's great. But the problem with those kinds of players is these things happen, you know, but you just kind of have to understand where they're coming from, what he's thinking in his head. Even if it's not always the right mentality off the court, it's something that will resonate on the court into great playing of basketball. We just have to know that there's going to be these kinds of things that happen in the tunnels and in the locker room, and it's just going to happen at times. Now, when talking about this altercation, what do you think the repercussions are going to be? A suspension, going to court? What does this look like? Because to me, I want to see Eubanks in his suspension as also, because there's always two parts of a fight. A guy isn't always just fighting a wall, okay? There's always two people that are involved with these altercations. So I want to see them both get a suspension, but what are your guesses on what it's going to be?
Well, I think Stu is not only going to be suspended, he's going to get a big fine. And then obviously he has to deal with his arrest. But Eubanks, I definitely believe should be suspended because, like you said, there's not just a one-way street. There's not just one guy fighting. There has to. It's like a pulling a rope in tug of war. There's always two sides to every story, and Eubanks, as the Suns would say, is in the clear. He's done nothing wrong. Obviously, he would have had to do something in order for Isaiah Stewart to punch him in the face. Like seriously, something would have had to happen. So I think Eubanks does get suspended. It's probably going to be pretty weak just because, I mean, you have the Suns making that statement and then the whole 9 yards. But you have to keep in mind who deals with the suspensions and everything and is in the punishment group with the NBA. It's Joe Dumars, fellow bad boy. But granted, he did suspend Stu in the LeBron altercation. LeBron also was suspended. He wasn't suspended as long, but it was a hefty suspension either way because it's LeBron James. He still got suspended. So the fact that LeBron got suspended in that situation, Drew Eubanks in this situation has to be suspended, right? Because you can't suspend the GOAT and then not suspend Drew Eubanks, who majority of the time on a lot of the teams would ride the bench. But that's not the point once again. So I think Eubanks does get suspended. It's not going to be hefty. I think it's probably going to be like 5 game to 10 game suspension. 10 is pushing it for me. I think it's more going to be like 5 games. That's it. Maybe even 2. And then Stu is probably because it is assault. He did get arrested. And so with that being said, it probably would be 10 games. And if not 10 games, heck, it could be a 2-week suspension. I just, and granted, the 10 games would span out to probably 2 weeks. So 2-week suspension, because like the NBA is not going to be like promoting this at all. They're not going to be promoting WWE in the NBA. They don't want that. And that's because the NBA right now, granted, the NBA right now is completely different than what it used to be within the going to work Pistons and then even the bad boys. The league today is much softer than it ever used to be. And so that's why I think they're really going to crack down on Stu on this one, just because it's like, hey, we're trying to be safe. We're not trying to be having brawl after brawl. We don't want a whole LeBron incident again, where you're going tasting blood in your mouth, chasing after him in the tunnels and the whole thing. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be extremely hefty, but Stu is going to be suspended for a while.
So I agree. He's probably going to get 10 games. I see Eubanks getting 1 or 2. We saw that when the LeBron James, Isaiah Stewart altercation happened, a bunch of players got 1-game suspensions for the Pistons. I see Eubanks either getting that or 2, just because there wasn't an actual fist thrown from what we know so far. Information could come out. But I want to talk about a few quotes before we wrap up today's episode, because this Drew Eubanks quote really fires me up. It makes me upset. So let's read through it. This quote says, Drew Eubanks said it happened when he had just gotten to the arena while still in street clothes, had never had anything with Stewart outside of just basketball arguments. Eubanks says, clearly you can see what he does as an Isaiah Stewart, how he acts on the court. So it wasn't surprising. How does Stewart act on the court exactly? Because from what I've seen in the history of Isaiah Stewart hasn't been the first to shove except this altercation. So how does Isaiah Stewart act? Because every NBA player, as soon as they have a big time dunk or a 3-pointer, they all celebrate. They all are very, I'm going to come at you, like basketball wise, talking wise. So I don't really quite understand this like poke at Isaiah Stewart. This makes me think that Drew Eubanks had one of these condescending comments to Isaiah Stewart when they saw each other, because it just seems yucky to me of Eubanks to say that. Like, what do you mean with the way Isaiah Stewart acts, defending himself and being another competitive NBA player? Like, you're what, because you suck, Eubanks, that you don't, go at people? Like, what are some of your thoughts on that comment? It makes me upset because it's like he's like just poking, doing these little pokes at Isaiah Stewart.
That exact quote from Eubanks reminds me exactly of what Yusuf Nurkic has been talking about with Draymond Green. It's like literally the same situation. Granted, Draymond Green did not. Well, it was a situation. But Draymond Green was in the wrong in that situation. Isaiah Stewart's in the wrong in this situation, and I just compared them, right? And you have Eubanks and Nurkic going up against 2 guys that, of course, they can pull the card of like, look at them on the court. They act the same way. They're bad, the whole 9 yards. And that's why I just think it's a little ironic that you have Eubanks and Nurkic going after Draymond Green and Isaiah Stewart right now, and pulling the freebie card of like, look at how they act on the court. Like, they're bad players. But no, I'm sure Stu chirps. Anybody in the NBA chirps.
Yes.
It's a part of the game. It's always been a part of the game. It's never going to go away from the game. It's always going to be there. So when you make that comment, it's kind of like, well, you're one to talk, because obviously you would have been doing some of the talking yourself. But Eubanks is just, I don't know where he's going with that, but it's ironic to me that, again, you have Nurkic and Eubanks making comments about Draymond Green and Isaiah Stewart, who are pretty similar right now. And I think the Suns are just wanting all this attention on them right now, just trying to put negativity on Stewart and Draymond Green, which, I mean, in this situation they deserve it, but like, it's to me it's a bit strange that you have all this drama going around with the Suns at the same time, and the Suns look like heroes in this.
So we talked about the Suns statement after the game and how they said Eubanks went unprovoked, that they will unequivocally support Eubanks through this whole process. And then after the game, Monty Williams had a response back. And I just we kind of glanced over it. I kind of want to read the whole statement Williams had, because I really liked the way Monty kind of supported Isaiah Stewart. Monty goes on to say, the thing is to get all of the information, and the NBA will do an investigation, Williams said. For me to come here and make a statement would be irresponsible. I know the Suns said it was unprovoked. I think that is irresponsible for sure. You just don't know. That did not need to happen. There is a time for the information to be gathered, and then you can make a statement. So I love that Monty Williams comes and tries to support Isaiah Stewart by saying, hey guys, you don't know all the information yet. This just happened 3 hours ago. We need to let the dust settle, information to be gathered, an investigation to take place, because I think Monty's thinking the same thing. Isaiah Stewart wouldn't just go and soccer punch Drew Eubanks. Something had to be said, and we need to figure out the exact quotes, and we need to see the camera footage. Ryan, your first thoughts on Monty Williams supporting Isaiah Stewart and kind of going at the Phoenix Suns?
It's exactly what I would have said. It's exactly what a lot of people would have said in that situation. When you have a situation like this, you don't know everything. So you really do need to analyze, break down what actually transpired before you make a statement. Because like I said earlier, the Suns made that statement really early, and that's going to bite them in the end if something actually did transpire from Eubanks' side, which I believe was the case. Because in that situation, it's either you want to look dumb or you want to look stupid. And the Suns did both in making that statement. And you really need to know all the facts before you even say anything. Because if you make that statement like they did, and then all of a sudden Eubanks did do something, which he probably did, they're going to get a lot of backlash off of that. Just because it's like, oh, that was a false statement. You really tried to cover that up. Like, why are you trying to cover up something that Eubanks did in that situation? But again, Monty Williams with the clutch response, as always, whenever he has hate going towards him, wasn't even hate going towards him. It was hate going towards one of his players. He still stands by their side, supports them all the way through. And that's what we need in coaches today. There's not a lot of guys that will really stand up for their players, and we need more of that. And Monty Williams taking the going all at the Suns in this situation. Well, of course there's bad blood there because he got fired for no reason, really. But the Suns didn't even have a bad season, came off of winning Coach of the Year. They were great. They still have been good, and they fired him because he wasn't good enough. I think he was good enough if they would have given him the time and effort, but they gave up real fast. And so, of course, Monty is going to have a smart aleck response to the Phoenix Suns. And I appreciate him for doing so, because not only did he stand up for himself, because of the whole situation regarding him being fired from them, but he stood up for one of his players. And to me, that speaks very highly of a person, that you'd go as far as to step up not only for yourself, but for one of the players on your team. And again, Stu is not an angry beast out there hunting everybody down on the prowl to hurt them. He's one of the nicest guys you'll actually ever know. He's very on the quiet side. He likes to hold a conversation at times, and he's a very nice guy. So Eubanks would have had to have said something for this to happen.
That will do it for episode number 16 of season 2. We talked about all the knit and grit details of this altercation between Isaiah Stewart and Drew Eubanks. And we come out on the other side of this episode in full support of Isaiah Stewart as of right now. We cannot wait to get more further details. And until then, we will see you guys in the next episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, and peace.